Someone finally suggested something for me to do a tutorial on. So now I'm going to do that. Basically, we're going to look at this. This right here, tips and tricks and such. Although when you use something for a long time or your experience, it's going to be a little challenging for me to figure out, to like decide whether or not I would consider like a helpful tool in Bitwig specifically. The automation's pretty nice in Bitwig, if I'm being fully honest. Probably my favorite automation. Like it's pretty tied with FL Studio in its automation. FL Studio is just really nice because you can copy and paste values like really easily, and all the types of curves and stuff you get. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna do automation just yet. I'm gonna show you some cool things here. So in Bitwig, one of the coolest things I like about it is the group tracks, the way the group tracks work. So if you just have like a bunch of group tracks, that was weird. Like this, I'll just put those in there, and then these ones in here. So now I have these groups, right? They'll send their audio to this group, the master group they're in, automatically once they're put inside. Unless before you put it in, you had gave it a manual routing, and then when you put it inside the group, it won't change. You would have to come in here and actually say group 2 master again. So that's interesting because they didn't use to, once upon a time, they didn't have that feature. So you actually had to come in here and to say if you wanted to like make a chord stack or whatever, oops, you'd have to like make your 4 instruments, and then you would have to like make an audio track, select every single one. Although you couldn't even like do this all like this. It was so painful. You would have to like come to your mixer or whatever, and then you had to say, I want this one to go to audio 5, this one to audio 5, or whatever. Or you could make an effect track, and then you could just be like, I want this all sent to audio 5, and then I just want no output. That was probably like the easiest way to do it, just the less clean way to do it, I guess. So now you can actually have that all the audio go to the one group master now. So this is good if you want to make like 4 groups and have like your synths, your sub, your basses, and like sound effects. 4 separate groups. That's usually how people organize them. So if you want to have those 4 separate groups, you can keep them in here. You can close them up in these folders. They'll all send out the same. They'll all come out of these folders audio, right, before they go to the master. So what you can do is you can put your effects on here specifically, like put a bit of compression and reverb, a bit of a compression and a tiny bit of reverb on your basses. Put like a peak limiter on your FX channel and throw on like a bunch of reverb. And also you could put on 4 separate side chains with different values on them, like side chain the FX a lot heavier than like the synths, but then keep the basses also heavily side chained, and then like stuff like that, right? And what I like to do is I actually organize my things into 4 groups in case I do want to do that. And then say I don't, what I do is I just make like another group that takes these 4 groups into consideration. I usually make it like white or black, and then I just call it like side chain. So now all these 4 groups are sending their audio out to the side chain. So then I can just put like 1 compressor on here, my side chain, do what I want to it here to get it like compressing all this, select an input, and then on the outside of this group, so now I have this whole group that like my whole project fits in, and on the outside I just have like a drum machine, and then I've got a trigger to trigger the side chain in the group. So I have a trigger, and then that's like it. That's all that's outside of this. And then maybe if I have some orchestral stuff, I usually keep it to the side chain because I do that stuff like very unique to everything else. But like I just have like these 3 things here or whatever. Or like if I'm doing vocals, That's a good example. If I do vocals, I don't put them in the sidechain. Unless I do like a vocal chop, where I do put it in the sidechain. Yeah. So, another cool trick is vocal chopping, now that we're on the topic. If you want to vocal chop very easily, you go to the audio. I'm going to come here and just find this.
I gotta know. I gotta know what I'm fighting.
So now we have this audio here, right? So what I can do with this is right click, slice to drum machine, and then you can select if you already put FX, do you want the FX to be included or whatever. In the case of a vocal chop, I usually want raw audio. You can limit the amount of slices and all that stuff, and you can select on a grid like what every note you want to be done. So like if I want every like bar, so this will create 4 slices, right? But if I set it to like every 8th, it's going to make 32. So it's going to cut this thing every 8th note and then put that all in the drum machine. So if I click that, just give it a second to do that, and look, it's already done that. So now listen to this.
I gotta know what I'm fighting for.
So it did it, but there's like crackling in between, obviously. But now you've got all these samples. So then you can come in here and just and you've just got a vocal chop already, and it's so fast. And if you really wanted to do precision vocal chop, then using the drum machine might not be the way to go. Although you could just like use this tool, select what you wanted, Control E, move it out, then drag that into like the drum machine. This way, like this. Oops, that's not what I want to do. Like that, just drag it in the drum machine like that, or whatever. But then even then, if it's too long, it's gonna want to slice it. If you can change that, and go down to like whatever. You can even do onsets. So if you want to slice something to the drum machine that's got like a beat to it, you can slice it at the onset. So let's go grab a drum loop. This. I'm going to take this. So you come in here, view the audio. You can see I've got an onset like at every hit, essentially. There's a way to make it generate its own onsets. I'm forgetting how to do this. There's definitely like a video somewhere on it. If you really want me to do it, I'll figure it out for sure. And yeah, but slice the drum machine. Just use onsets, and then it's going to create 14 because there's 14 onsets. Then we're going to slice it. It's going to come out like this, and then we can view this here. Listen to what it sounds like. Why is it so loud? Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, see how it does that? So then now you got like your kick and snare. Although with something like this, it keeps like unfortunately it would keep like the after the snare there's a hit here right after. There's a hi-hat right there, so it's going to be stuck in there obviously because you can't really separate those out and keep the reverb of the snare at the same time. So yeah, but that's something to watch out for. So that's pretty interesting in my opinion. There was something I was complaining about the other day where basically when you put down a MIDI clip and then you have like, let's just use like automatic MIDI here already. Let's use these. This will do it. There we go. So like if we were to look at this MIDI, I was complaining the other day that I've got like all this MIDI that's like not the same length, and I was like, wow, in FL Studio you can just like make them all come to each other. There's a legato button here that does exactly what I was talking about, and it will stretch everything. like I was saying, I wanted it to be stretched, and then now my problem's fixed. You can also reset like all the velocity values of everything by selecting all your MIDI, going into velocity, and just typing in like 78. And then now all my MIDI is back to normal. Where in Cubase, you have to do it on each individual one. You can also grab this length here and like shorten them if you hold Shift, or grab like the lowest number. Yeah, if you grab like the lowest number, you can drag down and it will very slightly move it if you want to like make separation, a little bit of separation in them. You can scale down 50%, up 50%, and it'll even like scale it down proportionally too, right? So it took like this 2-bar MIDI clip and made it 1 bar, but they still have like proportional timings to when they were like this. You can scale up and down through octaves. You can hold Shift to go up and down with the arrow keys. You can duplicate this. You can reverse it. That's cool. Quantize it, obviously. You can change the pitch and such of it. The gain and like the pan and the pitch and the timbre and the pressure, those are like Bitwig special things. They don't actually do anything when it comes to other programs unless there's like a specific mapping for them, like third-party plugins. Yeah. You can also mute notes too, which is interesting. There's a button up here that'll let you see multiple MIDI clips at the same time. Let me get a project opening up here. Perfect. This one's got quite a bit of MIDI in it. So I've got this project here, right? If I open one MIDI clip, I can... Oh yeah, let's explain hotkeys real quick. If I am on an instrument track, like so, I'm on this instrument track. Say it's gonna open up devices usually automatically. If I then press D, it will close them or open them. If I press E, it will open the piano roll. If I press F while in the piano roll, it will open up the fold mode, I believe it's called, but it's the drum editing really is what it is. So like when you place a note in your piano roll, it'll basically remember those notes, and then when you go to your fold, it will be like, okay, well, here's the only notes you selected. And in something like Drum Machine, it will remember which notes actually have a sample on them. So it'll only show you the notes with the samples. So this is easy for quick editing and not having to look at a piano, which is an easier way of doing this. And it'll actually name your samples on the side instead of having the keys, which is really cool. You can turn off the audition down here for the notes. So when you move notes around, they don't make any sounds. But then if I turn it on, still doesn't make any sound. I think there's like some filtering or something on right now. And yeah, you can also like look at automation while in here. And micro pitch expression editing. So yeah. Yeah, but there's this toggled layer editing, and you can see all your other effects even within the groups, and you can close the groups inside here. But you can just basically click view on all of them, and then you can now see all your MIDI like everywhere throughout the whole entire thing like this. Looks beautiful. And if you just basically click on which one you want to select at the time, and that's the one you're editing, it's pretty helpful. If you want to turn that off, just click this button. If you want to reset it, just double click it, because sometimes it gets out of control. You can do this with audio, so you can actually have, if you have a hybrid track, you can put MIDI on top of an audio, but you can see all the audio on the track too if you wanted to see that. Like if I turned on, see, now I can see that these two audios on top, and if I go up here and turn on this other one, I've now got 3 audios all on top of each other, fully adjustable. Not fully adjustable, but I can change the timings of them or whatever in here all together. This is helpful for like obvious purposes, and you can still edit their stretch and all that kind of stuff individually, and you can go ahead and like do pitch in here and pan and all that kind of stuff on all of these, each individual clip, which I think is pretty neato. And then yeah, so that's the piano roll. So you press F in the piano roll. I'm on an instrument track. Here we go. So you press F to toggle between the fold and instrument. If you press E, it closes it. If you press Q, It does nothing. I thought it did for some reason, thinking of video games. If you press A, it'll open up automation. You can select through all the automation. Just make sure you clicked on the track that has that automation. If you specifically want to see automation for a certain part of MIDI, because you notice if I... What's happening? You notice if I copy this over, there's now this over here. So say I was zoomed in farther, and then I'm looking at this, right? But if I click on this, it'll bring me over there, which is helpful. You can stretch this open. You could also go into your piano roll, and there's an option to full screen the piano roll with Shift Tab, like so, where you have an actual automation value on the bottom that you can scroll up or down if you want to have it like this. It's up to you. If you press A, that will close the automation. A Shift Tab will bring you out of this. If you're having troubles clicking Shift Tab, just double click Tab and you'll come out as well. Tab brings you between the mixer and the arranger. If you press M, it'll actually open a mini mixer for you. And yeah, that's about it for the hotkeys. Oh yeah, L will open up launchers on the side if you so choose. F12 will turn on your audio engine. Control R on a track will automatically like get ready to name it, so you can type instead of having to go click. You can select multiple tracks and adjust all their volume at the same time with the volume option up in the top left corner here, or you can reset them all to the same one. You can also change all their pan at the same time. You can arm them all at the same time. You can solo all of them at the same time, mute them all at the same time, deactivate them all at the same time. It's sweet. Okay, so that was like my tips per se. If you come out to here, where was I going with this? Hang on. There's a panel over here that you might not know about with the little bottom right corner here, this little show mappings browser panel. If you click this button, you can actually like go to your MIDI and touch something, anything on here. So say I want this, and then touch something on your keyboard, and it'll figure out what it is, and then you can use it. This is how you link your controllers, which is really cool because I didn't know this for the longest time. And you can unlink them if you don't want them linked anymore. So now my knob doesn't do anything. So you could do this for like most things. You just gotta get off you have to change the thing on the side if you want to get it like away from there. If you click this little show project panel, you can actually come up to the top right corner and go to info and used files and look for things you've used in the project, and or missing things that are missing, and it'll tell you, and you can, I believe, search for them and fix projects if you move them from computer to computer. Put in all your information here. This basically just shows you what you've got connected, and this is your browser panel, which works as devices, presets, samples, multi-samples, music, MIDI clips, files, configuration. Automation. You click this little bottom button here for automation to come out, and then you can automate. Let's put down a clip though, just to make sure we have something to attach it to. So basically, when you put down this automation, it's now attached to the clip above it, because this button up here is on, which is locking automation to a clip. So if I have automation over here, you can see when I move this, it's not moving that automation. So it takes the automation with it, right? And leaves it at its default value or whatever it was at the time. Or maybe it's just putting it at maximum. I don't know. And but if you bring it back, then it's there. But if you take this off, then your MIDI clip is now no longer relevant to your automation anymore. So that's helpful when you're moving things. I usually try to keep this button off until I'm actually trying to copy over MIDI. Saves you some time. You can like duplicate with that on, and it will duplicate the MIDI with it. But then if you take it off, it won't duplicate it, which is again helpful. This tool here, the select tool, is really helpful. If you want to like split something, you can just do this and then press Control E, and then now the clip's split, which I think is pretty neat. Or if you want just a certain portion of it, you can select and drag and it will take that with you. Or you can select that portion you wanted and hold Control when you grab that, and it's not going to do. What? That's weird. It's being weird. I thought you could. I guess you'd have to split it and then move it, like control over, and then do it, and then consolidate these two again with Control J. You press 1, 2, 3 to for 1 to 5 to cycle through all these in order. There's a draw button here for like drawing automation, or you can draw MIDI clips as long as you want, backwards, whatever. You can then erase them like that, and I think you can erase automation like that as well. Fantastic. And you have a cut tool which will cut things for you. Apparently it cuts your... Well, that's interesting. I wonder what kind of applications that would have. You can cut your automation. Can I select these or... Oh, these don't look... Oh, they are. Okay. Yeah, you can cut your automation and whatnot. I'll delete these. And yeah, you can actually... Someone was saying like very recently that they wanted a function to tempo, like modulate the tempo. I've done this in tracks. You can do it. You just click automation lane, then you click on the automation on the master channel, and look, it's right there. So with automation, you can favorite things. So if I click the plus button when I have something selected, it's going to favorite it. And then, but that's different from actually being used. So basically you can have the most important automation being favorited, and then just like general automation in the all section when you click on the star. X will entirely delete an automation off you. Get rid of it entirely. When inside of something, if you add something into a device, like into a MIDI channel, you have this. You can click add automation lane, add all your automation, whatever, and then you can actually just click on this little star, and then it'll show the things you've added, and you can delete them if you decided you don't want them anymore. And then you can close them at any time. When it comes to automation, sometimes you might be... That's not what I wanted to do at all. Here we go. Sometimes when you come to automation, you can't quite get that 0. You can't get 0. So you could either try pressing the automation, like A for the automation. Although there's no clip here, so I gotta do this first, and then it'll show me the automation. And I went into the wrong mode on accident. Let's turn that off. There we go. So you can actually see your automation now for the clip of this one. Here we go. You gotta click on the instrument track, and now I can see my automation. So you can sit here and try to do this. You can hold Shift to free move it. Alt will align it to like the closest beat, and then if you hold Alt while moving it, it will do that. Because sometimes it doesn't. And then if you hold Shift, you can free move it for like extreme precision. And like say there's a value you want, like say I wanted like perfect 0 would have been nice. Because it's a bit hard to like... So let's delete this real quick. So say I wanted the 0 decibels over here, but then like when I try to come up here, I can't get 0 decibels for some reason. Like it just skips over it, and then like when I use Shift, it still skips over it, and even down here it does it. Make sure you grab the bar or whatever right in front of your automation, drag over, copy it, and then you can see here I'm at like 33 decibels. I'm close. You can just click right on that line with that automation point, press V, and it'll now make this automation, and then you can just like delete what's not necessary, which would be those things, and now they line up because Well, actually, you could just delete that. Make sure you have this copied. And paste it over here. You'll get that. I don't know why it's making 2 lines. It's just trying to be weird right now. And then you have your line again. So that's a quick way to copy them over. It's a little inconvenient, but it works. Or you could just not be precision with your automation. It's more important with stuff like volume, that, if anything. So just keep that in mind. And you can copy like whole values like this over here. So say I had this drum machine being filtered, right? And say I want to filter my other instrument. So I have this filter. You know what? Let's automate the filter so I can get my point across here. So we got our filter, right? We're going to make an automation lane for the cutoff. So let's automate it using this. So we're automated or whatever. And then say we want this exact same filter movement because we're trying to make a drop. And you have another synth sound that could use the same kind of automation. Say you want that on the other machine. What you do is you just copy this filter, paste it onto your other instrument track, and it already for you has copied this automation because it's smart. And that can't be turned off, but like you can obviously just click on this button and say delete automation and it's gone. So the blue button indicates whether or not there's any kind of automation going on here. So you can see in this filter there's a blue dot, but in the other one there's not because I'm not automating it at all. The other really important thing, so that's the basic automation. In terms of workflow, I would say go into your make presets on like everything. So go into like the chain, for example, and I love to EQ in this order, compress, sometimes reverb then compress, and then reverb sometimes, depends on what I'm making. All these here, right? And I do enjoy having like bit crushing. So I like to put like bit 8 or whatever, and then I'll just like take the mix off so it's not doing anything, or turn it off or whatever. You can select these, drag these into the little box inside the chain, and then click this little browser folder. Hang on, nope. Click this show hide device macros, and you can macro whatever you want in here, and then you can also save your preset, and then you can put tags on it and name it and stuff. And then later on, so I have a bass chain basically preset as like one of the other things. So, and then I also have like basic synth processing. So like if I click on this basic synth processing, it's gonna open up my chain, and then you can see I've got an EQ that's already cutting like low end or whatever, a compressor, and then some reverb with no mix on it, so that way I can manually do it afterwards. But then that's just like a really quick load, especially if you have your presets over here opened and you type in, if I just type in chain, we can see here that I've got my 2 presets in the bottom. So every time, so while I'm doing whatever I'm doing and I add my machine, my instruments like this, I added massive. Oh, okay, well then I can just drag that on there and it's already doing whatever it's doing. It's already now working, or throw my bass chain on there. And now it's working. You can hear the difference. Right? So that's pretty helpful, in my opinion. Or if you wanted to like pre-macro certain things inside of a plugin, do that and then save it. And then when you come to your things in here, when you type in like massive, it will actually have under massive, it will have like your presets down here for massive. So like if I come here and say I want to like macro the actual macro of massive, so I can make sure it's at 0 and this is at 0, blast it to 1 to 1, turn it off. Now these knobs move together. It's moving inside massive, it's moving in both parts. So that's all I've done. So now I'm gonna go ahead, you know what, let's just change it. So that way there's no volume envelope and it's a saw wave. So it sounds like this. Maybe I don't want the volume to be that loud. Right? You know what? Let's just make this more apparent. I'll put it there. So it's got like a phase mod, some saw wave, no volume envelope. Now I can come in here, save it, call it delete me. And now when I click on massive, hey look, there's a preset for delete me, which is the massive I just had. So when I throw that down on my playlist, it's gonna have my massive. You could even go as far as to put down a chain in here, put a massive inside of the chain, and then add your effects onto it. And save this chain. And then when you are just anywhere, well, actually in your massive presets, delete me too or whatever, is this thing here. So if I were to delete all of this stuff here, take this, throw it on. Massive's already loaded. Wait, did I get the right one? I found a glitch in the system. So it doesn't actually save the chain. That's... Oh, you know what I did? I didn't save this. Oops. So yeah, if I come here, click this, say delete me too. Okay. And when I actually type in, when I just type in chain, here's my chain. It's got 3 presets. One's called delete me too. If I click on this, massive, EQ, compressor, and then the massive will be the exact same way I set it up before with like the macro and everything. So then you can just have a chain everywhere, and they already have like the plugin with the appropriate, like say you use like Citrus or something by Image Line, and the only thing you do is make that with basses. So you want to have your appropriate standard bass plugins with that, or whatever processing you do with it, post-processing. You can do that, and it will work. So that's my tips to you as well, for working. One last thing, if you're trying to do something that requires some sort of tempo and you're not used to like the bars and you don't know what's gonna work or not off the top of your head, click this little metronome button over here and try using that for making rhythms instead of just putting down like kicks and stuff. If you don't have those in right now, or you're making a part of a song that doesn't have drums, very helpful, very helpful. And that is it, and this is getting really long. Thanks for watching. I hope I helped.